Hi, I'm Joy, the physical therapist, and I'm here with iClimb to talk to you today about tips to help with freezing episodes. So you might be asking, what is freezing? So freezing is a term to describe some of the movement patterns that can happen in the feet with certain folks with Parkinson's disease. Now, not everybody has this, but some people do. So I'm going to demonstrate sort of what it can look like, all right? So oftentimes what happens is someone will start walking and then their movement will get really small and kind of almost shuffling and feel stuck. Have you seen that before? Or have you done that before? Felt it before? So that is kind of what we would describe as a freezing episode. Now that can happen at any point, but most often it happens with transitions, okay? So there's like a visual, spatial sort of component to this. So crossing from carpet to tile, going through a doorway. It can even be kind of being in a busy crowd, any sort of anxiety producing situation, but also transitions. Again, doorways tend to be huge. So there are a lot of things you can do to help get through a freezing episode. So I like to talk to my patients about thinking of a freezing episode sort of like when your computer freezes up. We have to find your Alt Control Delete. We have to find your reset button. So I think it helps to know one of the big reasons that I see people freeze is lack of weight shifting, okay? So I'm getting smaller and smaller and smaller to the point that I'm not weight shifting at all and I'm stuck, okay? So this is really common with people with Parkinson's disease, that I'm not weight shifting enough onto one leg to step with the other leg, okay? So you'll notice when I get smaller and smaller, I'm spending less and less time on one leg. And so that's what makes the step so small, right? I have to get off of this leg to quickly transfer my weight onto this leg. And I'm not on it long enough, so my step just gets smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where I'm not weight shifting at all. So that is driven by the brain, but there are things we can do to help counteract that. So in some people, just the fact that you know that you're not weight shifting is enough, okay? So I have some people that get to a freezing episode and they said, okay, shift your weight to the right, and then they can step. Most people need another cue. I really like marching in place. So again, think about that computer program and my brain is frozen, kind of like my computer is frozen. Let's try a different activity, okay? So if I'm trying to walk, I'm gonna try something different. So I really like marching in place. Counting out your marches can help. Marching in place, that makes me weight shift, 1, and 2, that changes my brain to focus on a different activity. So I like to have people count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what have you, and then try to step again, okay? That's often really helpful. So marching in place, I have people that will step to the side. I have had people in the past, but I don't typically recommend that will touch the floor. Everything is in the same fashion, is getting out of that activity and transitioning back into the one that you tried to do, okay? So step counting can be helpful. I mentioned that marching sort of aspect there. Counting the steps, again, using the brain, kind of distracting the brain a little bit. So if I know how many steps or I don't know how many steps, but I'm gonna count. I know I get frozen when I get up close to my chair. So I'm gonna count how many steps it takes for me to get to my chair. So I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to my chair so that my focus is on something different than the chair, okay? The same thing can be helpful with doorways, okay, across those transitions and surfaces. If you can count your steps, it doesn't matter how many steps, but the fact is that your brain is doing the counting and you're counting out loud can help you get your normal steps in and sort of counteract the brain from shortening the steps and getting the weight off the leg too quickly. So when we're talking about doorways, here's another thought, okay? So if you can focus on something through the doorway and not the doorway itself, that can help. Again, that visual spatial change. So if you are someone that has trouble with doorways, I'm looking through the doorway and finding something on the other side, I'm focusing on that something, and then I'm gonna count my steps it takes for me to get there. And so that helps to take the brain's focus off of that doorway itself. Okay, so those are a lot of things that can be helpful for folks with freezing. There are also specific walking devices that I can potentially bring in on a future video and show you that have laser attachments and metronome attachments, okay? That can be very helpful for folks that really struggle with freezing. So we can talk about those at a different video, but they are available and out there, and I do find them to be helpful in folks that have trouble with their walking and really struggle with freezing episodes. So I hope this is helpful. It kind of gives you a place to start. Okay, so think big steps, count your steps, change the activity, march in place, and kind of break up what you're trying to do to help the brain reset and get you back on track.